Now we are going to start with another good important lessons, that is long term decision making, simply we call project appraisal. When you are going to make a project appraisal, what are the areas we need to focus on, how it is important in your examination, because long term decision making there will be a testable, this is a highly examinable area. Therefore, in the long term decision making we need to focus on not doing, we have to practice more illustrations, and you have to get an idea about what are the relevant cost and revenues, and how to calculate time value of money, and how to determine what are the methods available to determine the suitability of project, which project should be selected. Those project related decisions we can determine based on the understanding we are obtaining. There are two methods. Simply I will give a brief introduction about the lesson. There are two methods of project evaluation: cash flow techniques and non-cash flow techniques. Under examination, which you are going to sit for the corporate level examination, you have to look at both cash flow and non-cash flow techniques. In non-cash flow technique, we will discuss about accounting rate of return, that is as a percentage of investment you have made, you have to calculate ARR. Then cash flow techniques again will be divided into two: discounted cash flow technique and non-discounted cash flow technique. Under non-discounted cash flow technique, we will discuss about payback period. Discounted cash flow technique, we will discuss about discounted payback period, NPV, IRR, profitability index, like that. We will look at about non-discounted cash flow, since it is more important section under long term decision making. Okay, we will start with under long term decision making. Your first illustration is given for determination of ARR. Prior to do the illustration number 1, when we are going to evaluate project, there are project independent project, because selection of one project will not affect to the other selection of other project, that is called independent project. There are some project we call mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive means selection of one project will affect the non-selection of other project. You can't select all due to the resource availability. You have to select out of the given projects, you have to select one project. That is called mutually exclusive project. Under that situation, how you are going to make a decision. Okay, we'll go to illustration or question number 1. The company has a target ARR of 20% and is now considering the following project. Capital cost of asset is 100 million. Estimated life 5 years. Estimated profit before depreciation is given. Year 1 to year 5 profit before depreciation. The capital asset would be depreciated by 20% of its each year and will have no residual value. Assess whether the project should be undertaken based on ARR. Okay, if we apply ARR, you have to take accounting profit. Okay, we'll take year 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Profit before depreciation. Profit before depreciation. Profit before depreciation. It has given first year 30 million, second year 35 million, 30 million, 35 million, again third year 30 million, 30 million, fourth year 20 million, fifth year 40 million. These are the profit before depreciation. Then you have to deduct depreciation. 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 You have an investment of 100 million. This 100 million will be depreciated over 5 years since there is no residual value. Annual depreciation would be 20 million. 20 million. 20 million. Otherwise, you can take the profit before depreciation total and you can depreciate total depreciation. Here there is the same effect. Therefore, profit after depreciation. Profit after depreciation. Profit after depreciation. 30 million minus 20 million, the profit is 10 million. 35 minus 20, it will be 15 million. 30 minus 20, it is 10 million. 20 minus 20, it is nil, and here it is 20 million. Take the total profit. Total net profit after depreciation 25, 35, altogether 55 million. Total 55 million. How I will calculate accounting rate of return? Accounting rate of return equal average net profit divided by average investment. Average investment. Average net profit 55 million. This has earned over 5 years. Therefore, 55 million divided by 5. Divide by average investment opening, it's there 100 million, closing 0, 100 plus 0 divided by 2, that means 100 divided by 2 into 100. That means 11 million divided by 50 into 100. You will get 22% as accounting rate of return. ARR 22%. Your target ARR. Target ARR is 20%. Since your actual ARR is greater than target ARR, you should accept this investment because it will give 22% as your accounting rate of return. Therefore, this investment is acceptable based on ARR rule. That is question number 1. Question number 1, you should determine this project is worthwhile to undertake based on ARR. Okay. What are the relevant, okay, question number 2, look at. What are the relevant cash flows in project appraisal? Okay, look at closely. This is very important. Okay. The cash flows that should be considered in investment appraisal are those which arise because of the investment decision under evaluation. Therefore, any cash flow arise as a result of decision you have taken to undertake this investment, that is relevant. Okay. There are 3 elements in relevant cash flows. Number 1, it should be actual cash flows. To evaluate a decision, actual cash flow should be considered. Non-cash items such as depreciation and interdivisional charges should be ignored. Therefore, nominal expenses, non-monetary items, okay, which did not involve any cash movement, you should not consider that particular cost. You should only consider actual cash or actual cash flows. That is number 1. Number 2, future cost and revenue. That means past cost and revenues are irrelevant. Any cost, okay, any cost and revenue which might arise as a result of this implementation of this project, you have to consider that they are relevant. They are relevant cost. Therefore, here we can, this means that past cost and revenues are only useful insofar as they provide a guide to the future. Cost already spent, known as sunk cost, are irrelevant for decision making. The cost which we have already incurred, it's a sunk cost. You can't use them because it has already been incurred. Therefore, it is a past, not relevant to future decision making. We call future cost and revenue should be considered, past cost should be ignored, sunk cost should be ignored. Other one, incremental cost and revenues. Sometime due to your change, some other cost might be changed. Some cost will go up. There might be existing revenue might also increase due to establishment of new project. Now you have captured more market share. Competitors eliminated in the market. The sales of other products also being increased, that due to your new project. Therefore, that impact also you have to consider. Due to your new project, if your current fixed cost being increased, that incremental fixed cost also you have to consider when you are making a decision. Therefore, there are three characteristics in your cash flow or relevant cash flow. Number one, they should be they can be actual. There might be future cost and revenues, and other one, there will be some incremental cost and revenues. Therefore, those are the elements in cash flow when you are going to evaluate the project. Therefore, the relevant cash flow consists those three elements. Okay, we'll move to question number 3. Alpha Company. Alpha Company is evaluating about 2 projects under its consideration for the investment. The cash flows of 2 projects have been forecasted as follows. Consider that projects are mutually exclusive. As I mentioned earlier, mutually exclusive mean if you select one project, you have to give up the other project. Mutually exclusive. Selection of one project will affect to non-selection of other project. That's why we call mutually exclusive. You can't accept both. You have to accept one. When you are accepting other one, other project should have been sacrificed. You have to give up. Project P and project Q. Capital investment is given 60 million each. Profit before depreciation, rough approximation of cash flows given. Determine the payback period of each project and advise which project to be undertaken. Now we are going to calculate payback period. According to payback period, we have to select, we have to acquire a project which has the shortest payback period. Why I am telling shortest payback period? If you have invested, if your investment has a shortest payback period, mean your initial investment can be recovered within a shorter period of time. It is less risky. If it takes longer time to recover the initial investment, it will be a more risky investment. But if its payback period is lower, your risk associated with the investment will be lower. Therefore, the main weakness, this payback period ignores whole life of the project. Okay, by using this example, I will explain the weakness of this particular approach. Okay, there are 2 projects. We'll take project P. Project P. Years being given. Okay, years. Cash flow. Cumulative cash flow. Cumulative cash flow is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 years. Year 0, we have to make an investment 60 million. It is an outflow 60 in rupees million. Cumulative cash flow also 60. First year, we will recover 20 million out of 60. Project P, 20 million, yes, 20 million cash flow. Therefore, 60 million will be recovered, 20 million balance to be recovered 40. To be recovered 40. Second year, we will get 30 million again, positive cash flow 30. Out of 40, 30 will be recovered, another 10 million will be there as an outstanding to be recovered. Third year, we will receive 40 million, then this become 30. Now we are not going to evaluate balance cash flow. Now you will stop here. Now you will look at how long it will take to recover your initial investment. it has taken complete 2 years plus balance months you have to identify. You have earned 40 million throughout the year. Out of that, how long it will take to recover 10 million? Therefore, your payback period, payback period 2 years plus, 2 years plus. Okay. Out of 40 million, you need to recover 10 million if it gives 12 months. Your payback period 2 years and 1/4 of 12 months, that means 3 months. 3 months. 2 years and 3 months. Your payback period is 2 years and 3 months for project P. Okay. Therefore, how long it will take to recover your initial investment? When it comes to positive cash flow, you will stop that point. You will not consider entire life cycle. That is the main one of weakness in this approach, and this payback period ignores time value of money. That's why we have to move to the discounted payback period. Okay, now we will look at project Q. Project Q will take years 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I will put the cash flows subsequently as 50 and 60. Cash flows. Cash flows. If you look at the cash flows, initial investment 60 million. Initial investment 60 million. Now you have to take the cumulative cash flows. Cumulative cash flow. Cumulative cash flows. It is 60 million at the beginning. Initial cash flow. Year 1, we will receive 50 million as cash inflow. Out of 60, I will recover 50 million, balance to be recovered 10 million. Second year, I will receive 20 million positive cash flow. This become positive 10 million. Now you can easily calculate the payback period. Remaining years, I will earn 5 million each. My payback period, payback period, complete 1 year. I need to recover 10 million, okay, 10 million, annual income 20 million, net cash flow 20 million. To recover 10 million out of 20, how long it will take? 10 divided by 20 into 12. Then it will be 1 year and 6 months. 1 year and 6 months. Okay, 1 year and 6 months. By looking at payback period, which one is more suitable? Project Q is more suitable. Why? It will recover its initial investment within 1 year and 1.5 years. But here it will take 2 years and 3 months. Therefore, the shortest payback period is there in Project Q. Based on payback period, I will recommend Project Q, but there is a weakness. Since we have not considered the whole life of the project, we can't estimate their relative profitability. If you look at remaining 3 years of their project, what is the net cash flow? Net cumulative cash flow. 10 plus 5, 15. 15 plus 5, 20. 20 plus 5, 25 million. They will generate net cash flow of 25 million generated over the project life. If you look at here itself it has generated 30 million in third year. 30 million plus 50, it become 80. 80 plus 60, 140 million. If you undertake this particular project, it will generate 140 million as net cash flow. Therefore, your decision might misleaded by the given information, because we have not considered whole lifetime of the project. That is the main weakness. Okay. If we have considered the whole life cycle of the project, whole life of the project, this project is less profitable than project P, because same investment is required. Based on payback period, we will select project Q, but there is a limitation. Most profitable project will be rejected since we are not considering the whole life of the project. You have to keep in mind the weakness or disadvantage of using payback period. That is question number 3. Then question number 4, this is relating to discounted payback period. Look at question number 4. We have a cost of capital of 10% and a project with cash flows shown below. Calculate the discounted payback period of the project. Now we supposed to calculate discounted payback period. Since payback period ignored, this is a discounted cash flow technique. Earlier payback period ignores the time value of money. Now we are going to incorporate time value of money. Then we will calculate discounted payback period. Please remember, again this week there is a weakness of this approach. We are not considering whole life of the project. Okay, we are not considering whole life of the project. Okay, year 1 to year 0. Sorry, year 0 to year 5. Year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 years. I will take discount factor. Discount factor at 10%. Discount factor at 10%. At year 0, your discount factor at 10% or 20%, 30%, 40%, discount factor at year 0 is 1. Present value of 1 rupee today is 1. First year, 1 divided by 1.1, you will get 0.909. 0.826. 0.751, 0.683, 0.621. Okay. These are discount factor. Cash flows. Rupees million. Initial cash flow, there is a cash outflow of 100 million. First year 30, second year 50, third year 40, fourth year 30 and final year 20. Now take discounted cash flow. Discounted cash flow. Here it is 100 minus 100 into 1. 30 into 0.909, 27.27. 50 into 0.826, 41.3. 0.75 into 40, 30.04. 0.683 into 30, 20.49. 0.621 into 20, 12.42. 12.42. Now these discounted cash flows are there. Now you can take cumulative. discounted cash flow, cumulative discounted cash flow. Here 100 minus. Out of that you will recover, this 100 minus, you will recover 27.27, then 72.73 to be recovered. Out of that 41.3 you have recovered 31.43 to be recovered. Out of that 30.04, another 1.39 to be recovered. Fourth, 20.49, 19.1, it become positive, 19.1 positive. We have not considered whole lifetime. Now we are going to calculate payback period. It has taken complete 3 years. 3 years plus. To recover 1.39, how long it has taken? Out of 20.49, this is the total earn over 12 months. You need to recover 1.39 into 12 months. .81, that means 20, will multiply it by 30, then 3 years and 24 days approximately. 3 years and 24 days approximately. Okay, we have not considered whole life of the project. We have just considered where it appears, where it equal to 0 or positive. That means where it come to 0, that means it will recover the initial investment. Therefore, initial investment will be recovered within 3 years and 24 days. Then you can recover your initial investment. That is called discounted payback period. Discounted payback period. To eliminate the weakness, now we are going to discuss about the more advanced technique, that is net present value. That means you will take whole life of the project, or overall lifetime of the project will be considered. You will compare present value of receipt against the present value of payments. Net receipt or net present value will be taken. That means the present value of net receipt, or that means net payment. Then you will determine if the value is positive. Generally we will accept the project which has a positive NPV. If they are mutually exclusive, you will select the project which has the highest net present value. Okay. We'll move to question number 5. Explain the meaning in substance of NPV and IRR to non-financial managers. Okay. If you meet assume you are going to present in the board meeting, some of members are not aware about NPV or IRR. Assume you are evaluating a new project. You have to explain in clear terms what is the meaning of NPV, what is the meaning of IRR. Okay, meaning of NPV. The net present value mean what is the net value addition, okay, at the end of project duration based on after allocation of some return to the capital inflow or capital providers, or some return to the investment we have made. Okay, as an example, if we invest 100 million, they expect some return. After allocating the portion of return for that particular investment, initial investment, what is the net return which entity will generate? That is called NPV. IRR is the annual average rate at which the project return are generated. In other words, if returns on investment are allowed to be withdrawn, the value addition will be 0. Okay, that means where the NPV equal to 0, the value addition equal to 0, then that is the point where investment can be withdrawn. If our NPV value addition below is -1, negative value addition, you have to withdraw. The point where you can decide your value addition equal to 0, that is called IRR, net value addition. Therefore, when we are going to calculate IRR, you can use the IRR formula in order to determine your IRR rate. In simply, IRR rate means rate which IRR equal to, so rate which NPV equal to 0. Therefore, when NPV equal to 0, that means if you borrow at that capital rate, the rate which NPV equal to 0 means the rate which you can borrow, maximum borrowing rate. Beyond that, if you borrowed, your NPV will be negative. Therefore, that is the ceiling. You can calculate your IRR, internal rate of return. You have to take lower lower discount rate. I will take lower rate plus NPV, you can say this is A, and A is the lower rate, NPV A, NPV at lower rate divide by NPV at lower rate minus NPV at highest rate, okay, into highest rate minus lower rate. Okay, A mean, I will take A mean lower rate, lower discount rate, lower discount rate. B mean higher discount rate. NPV A, NPV A means NPV at lower discount rate, lower discount rate. NPV B means NPV at higher discount rate. That's how we can determine IRR. Okay, the rate which your NPV equal to 0, that means your maximum cost of capital rate or your maximum borrowing rate. Okay, that is the question number 5. Question number 6, the answer is given itself. Discounted cash flow method of investment appraisal is preferred because it takes account of the time value of money. That is the main benefit of discounted cash flow technique. Explain the 3 underlying elements of time value of money and discuss the importance of taking into consideration when appraising investment projects. This is a past paper question. The answer is, if you consider the time value of money, there are some underlying assumption. Number 1, delayed consumption. Because in order to make if you make an investment, you have to sacrifice your consumption. Your savings you will invest. Therefore, if you invest, you have to sacrifice your consumption. You have to delay your consumption. Therefore, you will expect additional return. There is an opportunity cost involved in the invest of funds. Generally, the value of 1 rupee is greater than when the value of rupee is 1 year's time, since investor have to give up present consumption. Okay, without investing, if we consume it, then that means the value of goods you consume today may not equal to Value of goods you might purchase from the same value after 1 year's time. Therefore, in order to maintain same consumption level, you have to expect some additional return in order to maintain present level of consumption. That is the main of discounting. As an example, today 100 rupees worth of good you have purchased. After 1 year's time, if you want to purchase the same product, same goods, you have to spend 120. Therefore, you expect additional return in order to maintain same level of consumption, because future there will be an inflation and those impact will be there. Therefore, since you are going to delay your consumption, you will expect additional return. Number 2, inflation. The time value of money, today's value may not be equal to 5 years time, value after 5 years time. Today you will purchase a pen at 20 rupees, after 5 years time it might be 100 rupees. We don't know. That might be due to inflation. When inflation is there, we have to earn some additional return, okay, in order to compensate the inflation. If there is an inflation, if there is inflation, then investors also need to be compensated for the loss in purchasing power. They will lose their purchasing power. Losing of purchasing power, they have to compensate. That's why we are adding some return or discounting those cash flows. Third one, risk. Remember, if you make an investment, it will be a risk. You will expect the return in future. Sometime it might receive, it might not receive. You are taking a risk. Since you are incurring a risk, you will expect additional return on risk you are bearing. Therefore, the promise of money in the future carries with that an element of risk. The payout may not take place, or the amount may be less than expected. An investor therefore need to be compensated for time, inflation and also risk. The objective of investment within a company is to create value for its owners. Investors have alternative uses of their fund and therefore have an opportunity cost if money is invested in a corporate project. Investment therefore must generate enough cash for all investors to receive their requested return. The use of net present value in investment appraisal recognize the time value of money and discount cash flow at the investor's required rate of return. Because at least in order to compensate their risk, inflation and delayed consumption, we need to invest. We need to discount the project cash flows based on the required rate of return of an investor. Therefore, there are 3 underlying principles of discounting. Number 1, delayed consumption. Number 2, inflation. And number 3, risk. Okay, those are the factors which we need to consider when assessing, when discounting project cash flow. That's why we have to consider these are the underlying principles of discounting. Okay, question number 7, it says about inflation. Okay, prior to discuss the illustration, when we are going to discuss about the inflation, most important thing, the application of discount rate. You should not discount real cash flows by using nominal discount rate. The best method, the correct method is you have to discount real cash flow by using real discount rate. You have to discount your nominal cash flows by using nominal discount rate. Third one, if different inflation rate applicable for different component, like material will be inflated by 5%, revenue will be inflated by 10%, labor cost will be inflated by 2%, different inflation rates are applicable. Under that situation, you have to convert all cash flows into nominal cash flows and discount them using nominal discount rate. Okay, that is the most important thing. Therefore, if multiple inflation rates applies, you have to convert real cash flows into nominal cash flows and use nominal discount rate to determine NPV. Okay, this is the illustration in question number 7. A company is considering investing in a project with the following cash flows. Okay, time 0, 1, 2, 3. Actual cash flows given, that means that is including the effect of inflation. Actual cash flows. First year initial investment 15 million, first year 9 million, second year 8, third year 7 million. The company requires a minimum return of 20% under the present and anticipated condition. Inflation is currently running at 10% a year and this rate of inflation is expected to continue indefinitely. Should the company go ahead with the project? Okay, prior to do the computation, when we have to use Fisher's equation when we are going to find out real rate and nominal rate. Normally, this is the Fisher's equation, 1 plus nominal rate equal to 1 plus nominal rate equal to 1 plus real discount rate into 1 plus inflation rate. That's how we are going to find out. In this illustration also, if you look at minimum return of 20% and the present condition mean, that is your nominal discount rate, that means 1 plus 20% mean 0.2 equal to 1 plus real rate. I will take real rate into 1 plus inflation rate. 1 plus inflation rate is 10%, 0.1. If you want to find out the real rate, 1.2 divided by 1.1 minus 1, it should be 9.09 mean 9.1%. Real discount rate is 9.1%. Okay. Here it is not required to work out, but you have to calculate whether this investment should be undertaken or not. Therefore, these are nominal cash flows. These nominal cash flows should be discounted by using nominal discount rate, or otherwise you can convert these actual cash flows into real cash flows. Those real cash flows should be discounted by using 9.1, the real discount rate. Okay, we'll do in real or nominal, both we can do. We will do it in the nominal cash flow basis. Okay, 9.1 is there is a round, we have rounded it off, is the actual discount rate. Now I am going with nominal cash flow by using nominal rate 20. Year 0, 1, 2, 3. Discount factor at 20%. Here it is anyway 1. First year 1 divided by 1.2, it is 0.833. Second year it should be 0.694 and 0.579. Okay, this is discount factor at 20%. Cash flow is given. First year it is 15 million negative, positive cash flow 9 million first year, second year 8, third year 7. Now take the discounted cash flow, DCF. Okay, discounted cash flow, it is 15 million negative, 9 million into 0.833, it is 7.497. I will take 7.5 million. 8 into 0.694, 5.5, I will take 5.6 million. 7 into 0.579, it is 4.05 mean 4.1. If you calculate, this is the NPV, this is the present value, net present value of receipt and payment, net present value NPV. This nominal cash flow discounted by nominal discount rate. Therefore, 7.5 plus 5.6 plus 4.1 minus 15, 2.2 million. 2.2 million is the NPV. Now you have used the nominal rate. Now we can do the same computation by using real discount rate. What do you have to do? You have to convert these cash flows into real cash flows, okay, because they have been inflated by 10%. Therefore, I will use real rate of 9.1. Real rate of 9.1. Yes, 0, 1, 2, 3. I will take real cash flow. 15 million, there's no change. But year 1, this 9 million after the inflation, therefore 9 million divide by, okay, 9 million divide by 1.1, okay. Then here it is 15 million anyhow, 15, it's a negative. How much it here? 9 divided by 1.1. I will take 8.2 million. Second year it is 8 million, 8 divided by 1.1 power 2. It is 6.6. Third year it is 7 divided by 1.1 power 3. 5.25, I will take 5.3. Discount factor at 9.1%. Here it is anyway 1. First year 1 divide by 1.091, then it should be 0.917 divided by 1.091, 0.840, 0.77. Now take the discounted cash flow. Here anyway it is 15 million. 8.2 into 0.917, 7.5. 6.6 into 0.84, 5.54. I'll take 5.5. 5.3 into 0.77, 4.08, 4.1. Take it. It become 2.1 million due to rough approximation. This has been changed. This is NPV due to rounding of errors. NPV is 2.1 million. Therefore, what we have done here, we have discounted nominal cash flows. Nominal cash flows by nominal discount rate. Nominal discount rate. Nominal discount rate. Here what I have done, real cash flows. Cash flows discounted by real discount rate. Real discount rate. Okay. That's how we will implement inflation. Remember, if multiple inflation rates apply for different items of your given illustration, it is suitable, it is recommended to use nominal cost of capital or nominal discount rate when assessing project. That is the end of question number 7 relating to inflation. Next one is taxation. Taxation, generally, taxation, it will mention, because we have to calculate taxable profit, and taxation, generally taxes will be paid 1 year in arrears. First year tax will be paid in second year tax will be paid in third year. If it is specifically mentioned, otherwise we will use like that. Sometime it will specifically mention taxes will be paid in the year which it arise. Okay. Or 50% of taxes will be paid in year which it arises and balance 50 in subsequent year. Likewise, you have to look at the information. If those are not provided, you have to assume taxes will be paid in 1 year in arrears. Okay. Therefore, in taxation, on the other illustration, other adjustment, when taxation is there, when you invest in a capital asset, the taxation will give some capital allowances. Therefore, your taxable profit will fall or your net profit will fall. You have to adjust your taxable profit based on capital allowances. The capital allowances will be saved your income taxation. Therefore, when you are going to calculate taxes, you have to consider capital allowances on your project, because it should be deducted and you have to calculate taxable profit. That taxable profit, based on taxable profit, you have to calculate taxes and you have to take into your consideration. Okay, we will move to question number 8. Read question number 8. It related to taxation, what we are going to do and how we adjust capital allowances in your cash flow. Okay, read the illustration. A company is considering whether or not to purchase an item of machinery costing 40 million payable immediately. That means you have to pay 40 million immediately. It would have a life of 4 years, lifetime 4 years. Okay. 4 years after which it would be sold for 5 million. That means 5 million. There's a residual value of 5 million. The machinery would create an annual cost saving of 14 million. The company pays tax on 1 year in arrears at an annual rate of 30% and claim tax allowable depreciation on 25% on a straight line basis. A balancing allowance is claimed in the final year of operation. The company's cost of capital is 8%. Okay. Now we will look at, based on the given illustration, you have to make initial investment of 40 million. Okay. We'll take year 0, year 1, year 2, year 3 and year 4, and year 5 also required. Initial investment. Initial investment. You have to make an initial investment of 40 million. 40 million. And it has a residual value of 5 million which will be received in 4th year. 5 million. Okay. Residual value 5 million. If you purchase this machinery, you will receive a cost saving of 14 million. Cost saving. 14 million in each year. 14 million. Sorry, this should be year 0. 40 million here. Okay, initial investment here 40 million here. Therefore 14 million here and 14 million. Okay. These are the cost savings. And company will claim capital allowances on 25% on a straight line basis. Now you have to deduct taxation. But when you are going to calculate taxation, you have to claim capital allowances. I will take net cash flow before tax. Before tax. Here 40 million minus 14 million, 14 million and 14 million. Here it is 19 million. Okay. Now I want to calculate taxation. Taxation. I will put a working. Okay. Since I don't have a space here, I will take this side. Taxation. Taxation. Okay. I will take, okay, I will work out here separate working. Taxation. Here I will take, these are the net cash flow before tax. Net cash flow before tax. 14 million, 14 million and 14 million and 19 million. Then you will claim capital allowances. Capital allowances. Capital allowances. 25% on initial investment. 25% on 40 million, it is 10 million. You can claim capital allowances 10 million for 4 years. Then you can get taxable profit. After claiming capital allowances, you can claim taxable profit. Taxable profit. Taxable profit. Here it is 4 million. 4 million. 4 million and 9 million. Okay. Tax rate. Tax. Tax at 30%. 30% on 4 million, it is 1.2 million. Here also 1.2 million. 1.2 million and 2.7 million. Remember, tax payments are 1 year in arrears. First year tax will be paid in second year will be paid in third year will be paid in fourth year will be paid in fifth year. Okay, therefore, I will take taxation. First year I am not going to pay first year tax, it will be paid in second year 1.2 million. Second year tax will be paid in third year 1.2 million. Third year tax will be paid in fourth year 1.2 million. Fourth year tax will be paid in fifth year 2.7 million. Okay. That's how we will adjust the taxation. Okay, taxation. Now you can take net cash flow after tax. Okay, net cash flow after tax. Net cash flow after tax. Here it is 40 million, 14 million, 12.8 million, 8 million, 17.8 million and minus 2.7 million. Your cost of capital rate is 8%. Therefore, discount factor at 8%. We have to take the discount factor at 8%. First year, at the beginning of year, it should be 1. Then it should be 0.5 926.857, 0.794, 0.735, 0.680. Now you can take discounted cash flow. Discounted cash flow. Here it is minus 40 million. $12.96 million, $11.998. I will take 12 million, $11.1 million, $13.08 mean 13.1 million, $1.8 million negative. Take the net present value, NPV. Take the present value of all future cash flows. If you take the present value of all future cash flows, you will get $7.36 million as positive NPV. 7.36 million as positive NPV. 7.36 million. Then you can tell that based on the given information, since it generates a positive NPV, this is financially worthwhile to accept because it generates a positive NPV. I want to tell here, when you are going to calculate taxation, the impact of taxation, you have to take impact on capital allowance. You have to take it separately and do a separate working and put into the here. It is very easy to, your presentation is very clear and it is easy to allocate marks. Therefore, you can do your working properly and put the answer into a proper order. That is for taxation. Next one, sensitivity. Okay, the sensitivity is the next concept they might ask in the examination. Sensitivity mean you have to identify what is the most critical factor of your project. The small change in most critical factor will change the decision of your project. Therefore, you need to identify which is the most important factor which may affect your project viability. As an example, it might be purchase price, it might be revenue inflow, it might be cost. Those are the factors you need to consider, and discount factor, sales volume. Therefore, if your sensitivity factor is low, that means a small change in your sensitivity, a small change in your factor will create a big impact to your decision. Therefore, in sensitivity analysis, we will calculate as a percentage from each factor, NPV as a percentage of present value of each factor. Then you will determine which one is the most important factor which may affect to change your project feasibility. That is very important because it needs to be carefully monitored. The change, small change in critical factor may significantly affect to your project profitability. Therefore, we can calculate sensitivity by using this formula. Sensitivity equal NPV divided by present value of the factor into 100. Okay, If you are going to look at the sensitivity of sales value, you have to divide net present value divided by present value of sales as a percentage. If your answer is a small percentage, that means small change in that particular factor will create a big change. Okay. We will look at illustration number 9, which is given in the study pack itself. A new company has a cost of capital of 8% and is considering a project with the following most likely cash flows. Okay. Here running cost and cost saving is given. Calculate the sensitivity in percentage of project to changes in the levels of expected cost and savings. Okay. First we need to calculate NPV. Year 0, 1, 2. Okay. Then cash flows. Cash flow. I will take net. Okay. I will take purchase of plant. Purchase of plant. Prior to that, we will take the discount factor. It is given 8%. Discount factor at 8%. Discount factor at 8%. Anyway, at the beginning of the year, it should be 1. First year, 1 divided by 1.08, it should be 0.926. 0.857. 0.857. Okay. Now, present value, you have to calculate present value of purchase price. Purchase price. It is at the beginning, it is 7,000. That means 7,000 negative. There is no other cash flows. Then present value of running cost. Present value of running cost. Running cost. Year 1 running cost is 2,000. 2,000 into 926. 1,852. 852. Then 2,500 in second year into 0.857. I will take 2,143. Okay. Present value of running cost. Here also we will take the total. Minus 7,000. Here 3,995 negative. Then present value of savings. Present value of savings. First year it is 6,000 savings. 6,000 into 0.926. 5,556. Second year it is 7,000. 7,000 into 0.857. 5,999. Total plus 5,556. 11,555. 11,555. Okay, now we will look at, these are the present values. Present values. Now we will calculate net present value equal to total of these cash flow. Present value. 7,000 minus 3,995 minus plus 11,555 plus. Okay. You will receive NPV of 560. NPV is 560. Now we will look at sensitivity to initial purchase cost, sensitivity to the running cost and sensitivity to the cost saving. Okay, number 1. sensitivity to purchase cost or initial investment equal NPV divided by present value of initial investment as a percentage. Therefore, NPV 560, initial investment 7,000, present value of initial investment 7,000 as a percentage. 560 divided by 7,000, it is 8%. Okay, sensitivity is 8%. That means sensitivity 8% mean your initial purchase cost increased by 8%, this NPV will equal to 0. Okay, if your initial purchase cost increased by 8%, your NPV equal to 0. Okay, sensitivity number 2, sensitivity to running cost. NPV 560, present value of running cost 3,995 as a percentage. %. 14%. Third one, we'll take cost saving. Sensitivity to the cost saving. 560 is the NPV divided by present value of cost saving 11,555 as a percentage. 560 divided by 11,555, approximately it is 4.8%. By looking at these three factors, which one is the highest or which one has the highest sensitivity? That means your project cost should change at least 8% in order to project NPV become 0. Here it should change by 14% in order to bring your running cost or bring your project NPV to 14%. Cost saving, if it change by 4.8, your project NPV become 0. Therefore, this is the most critical factor. This has the highest sensitivity. This is the most critical factor. This is the most critical factor when you are going to make a decision, because it has a small change in cost saving will affect to the total project NPV. Therefore, highest sensitive factor is cost saving. Okay, that's how we will do the sensitivity analysis. That is the answer for question 9. Okay, we'll move to question 10, single period capital rationing. Single period capital rationing mean we do not have sufficient capital to invest. All the project will generate positive NPVs, but we don't have a total capital requirement. Under that situation, we will assume that projects can be divisible. Therefore, we will invest proportionately on that particular investment. Therefore, we need to select out of projects available which project should be invested, which one should be given priority. When we are going to do that, we have to analyze based on profitability index. That means if the you will give the profitability, you will give the priority for the product or project which has the highest profitability index. When you are going to calculate profitability index, how you would compute it? You will compute NPV plus initial investment divided by initial investment. If it is greater than 1, always you will select, but out of that you will select the highest one. You will give the priority for that. Okay, we'll look at question number 10. It has been given. A company is experiencing capital rationing in year 0 when only 60 million of investment finance will be available. No capital rationing is expected in future period. That means beginning you have to make the investment, there is no capital rationing thereafter. No capital rationing expected in future periods, but none of the 3 projects under consideration by the company can be postponed. එකක්වත් postpone කරන්න බෑ. The expected cash flows of the 3 projects are as follows. Okay, project cash flows given year 0, that is initial investment, year 1 to year 4 cash flows being given. The cost of capital is 10%. Recommend which project should be undertaken in year 0 in view of capital rationing given that projects are divisible. Remember, it says projects are divisible. Therefore, you have to determine, you have to calculate NPV of each project and you have to determine which project should be given priority. Okay. Now, this is the answer. We'll calculate NPV of each project. The discount factor is given, cash flows also been given, discounted cash flows, then NPV. Project A 5,720, project B 3,316, project C 4,403. Okay, then you have to decide which one should be selected. By looking at the NPV, you can't say the highest NPV is given by project A, therefore I need to select project A. Why? We will get 5,720 as NPV while making an investment of 50,000 at the beginning. Okay. Project B, we will get 3,316 while investing 28,000. Look at project C, we will get 4,403 initial investment of 30,000. Therefore, now you need to calculate profitability index. Okay, I have computed the profitability index. How it will compute? Profitability index equal NPV plus initial investment divided by initial investment. Project A, initial investment, here I have taken 5,720. Okay, if you go to the initial calculation of NPV, it is 5,720 plus initial investment 50,000 divided by 50, then you will get 1.114. Okay, 1.114. Project B, 3,317, initial investment 28,000. Okay, 3,317 plus 28,000 divided by initial investment of 28,000, it will give 1.18. That is the second in ranking. Project C, look at project C. 4,403, this is for 30,000 initial investment. If you calculate profitability index, it is 1.147. Now you can rank highest profitability index there in project C, next project B, final is project A. Now you have ranked your projects. Which one need to given priority? You have identified that you have to given the priority for project C instead of project A. Why? Project C has a highest profitability index of 1.147 approximately. I will tell it is 14.7% return. In the other words, if you look at project B, it is 1.118 the second place, and project C it is 1.114. That is third. Okay, now we have only, if you take the total initial investment, if you willing to invest in all 3 projects, sorry, all 3 projects, it require 108,000, 50,000 plus 28,000 plus 30,000, all together it require 108, but only capital available 60,000. Okay, as mentioned here, you only have 60 million to invest. 60 million. Then out of 60 million, how I am going to allocate my total investment? First, I will give project C 30 million or 30 million to design rupees 1000, 30 million to project C. Next one I will give to project B 28 million, altogether 58. Now remaining capital only 2 million. But project A required 50 million, but I can't give 50 million. I can only give 2 million. Therefore, 2 million out of 50 mean it is 4%. Then you have to calculate NPV. Since I have undertaken 100% project C, this should be 4,403. It should be 4,403. Other one 3,316. This should be 229. All we will take the total 4,403 plus 3,316 plus 229. Answer should be 7,948. Okay, this should be changed. Project C value should be, this value should be not 5,720, it should be 4,403. Okay, it should be 4,403. If we calculate it, your answer should be 7,948. It should be 7,498. This should be not 5,720, it should be this amount, 4,403. 4,403. This is the value you have to consider. 4,403 you have to consider here. Okay, then your total cost will be, this value should be changed. It should be 7,948. While considering optimal investment policy, you will undertake project C fully, project B fully, and 4% of project, this is partially investment. Okay, partial investment, this is 4% of project A. Then you will decide, this is the optimal investment policy. Project C you will get, you have to take this one here, 4,403, not 5,700. Total will be 7,948. Okay, that is how you will compute the optimal investment policy based on capital rationing. You will assume projects are divisible, that's why we have taken 4% of 5,720 proportionate share of project A. Okay. Now we will look at question number 11, postponing of project. Okay. Now you need to decide which project need to be postponed. That is multiple period capital rationing. If you sometimes, some instances you can postpone your project. Therefore, you have to decide which project should be postponed. You have to postpone the project which has a lower opportunity cost. Okay. If you postpone the project, your present value will fall. The cash flows will receive 1 year after. Then your project NPV will fall. Look at, assume the information in question number 10. Okay. Question number 10. It should be question number 10. Same information in question number 10. The projects can be postponed by 1 year. Okay, it can be postponed by 1 year. Calculate the NPV in year 0 and year 1 based on the postponing project. Okay, project A, it has an NPV of 5,720. 1 year postponement mean your value will be 5,200. 1 year postponed. If you postpone by 1 year, your NP will fall by 1 year. Therefore, you have to discount them by 1 year discount factor. Your cost of capital is 10%. Therefore, 5,200 is the NPV at the beginning of year 0. That means if you, without capital rationing, if you initially invest at year 0, you may earn 5,720. Now it will receive in year 1. Then postponing will result loss of NPV 520. Project B, you have to discount this 3,316 by 1 divided by 1.1. That means discount by 1 year. Cost of capital discount karna. You have to discount it. Then NPV near 0, NPV will fall up to 315, which was there in 3,316 in previous, without postponing. Therefore, your NPV will fall by 301. Project C, if you look at here, your NPV of project C 4,403 reduce up to 4,003 by 400. By looking at loss of NPV, you can't determine which one is the highest opportunity cost. You can calculate opportunity cost. That means you have to calculate postponability index. That means losing of NPV as a percentage of current NPV. Okay. Sorry. Loss of NPV you have to divide by capital outlay deferred from year 0. You are deferring this initial investment by 1 year. The postponability index loss 520 will be divided by 50,000. Then index is 1.0104. Project B 0.0108. Project C 0.0133. This project C has the highest opportunity cost. Therefore, it should not postpone. Project B also has the highest opportunity cost, the next highest opportunity cost. Project A has the lowest opportunity cost among the 3. Therefore, this project should be postponed. Okay, this project should be postponed. Other projects should given priority. Therefore, project C and project B will be accepted, and project C should be project A should be postponed. That means initially year 0 you will make an investment of 2,000, which is 4%, balance 48,000 you will make in year 1. Okay, year 1. Then this is the NPV you will earn. 5,720, this should be into 9, this should be 96%. Okay, this should be 96%. 96%. 96%. Then you will, this should be also changed, not 5,720, it should be the same answer I have taken here, 4,403. Okay, the answer should be, this one should be 4,403. As I mentioned, this should be 4,403. Okay, 4,403. Therefore, by looking at this postponability index, you will postpone project A because it has lowest opportunity cost of delaying the project. Okay, next one, the next one. Okay, next one, investment appraisal with unequal life cycles. Okay, unequal life cycle. Now there might be some projects which has a longer life cycle, other one has a shorter life cycle. Then you compare project which has a shorter life cycle against the project which has a longer life cycle, it is not reasonable. Therefore, what we have to do, you have to calculate annualized net present value, annualized one. That means net present value of the NPV of the project should be divided by cumulative discount factor of the project life. Then you will get annualized NPV. Then project which has the highest annualized NPV should be invested. That is if the project life cycle is unequal, not equal, you have to calculate annualized NPV. The formula is given here itself. Net present value should be divided by annuity discount factor for the project life. Okay, assume project will be lasting for 5 years time, discount factor is 10%, you have to take the discount factor over 5 years at the rate of 10%, then you will receive annuity factor. NPV of the project should be divided by annuity factor. I will take an example to conclude that unequal lives, project which has unequal lives, then it is easy to understand. Then we have to select the project which has the highest annualized NPV, highest annualized NPV. Okay, there are two projects. This is an example, A and B. Project NPV is given, NPV 2,500 million. Okay. Another one, 1,800 million. Both project discount factor 10%. Cost of capital is 10%. 10%. Lifetime of the project. Project period. Project period. This one is 10 years. This one is 4 years. If you make the decision based on 2,500 absolute value, this might be wrong. Now you need to calculate annualized NPV. Okay, therefore I will take annuity factor of 10% over 10 years annuity factor. How to compute it? 1 minus 1 plus R power minus n divided by R. Okay. For 10 years time annuity factor 1 minus 1.1, that is the cost of capital rate is 10%, divided by cost of capital rate R is 10%. Okay, 1.1 minus power 10, 1 minus answer divided by 0.1, it will be 6.144. I will take annuity factor of project B, 1.1 power minus 4, 1 minus answer divided by 0.1, it is 3.17. 3.17. Now we will calculate annualized NPV, annual NPV, net present value, annual NPV, 2,500 million divided by 6.144. It will be 406.9 million. 406.9 million. 1,800 divided by 3.17. It is 567.8 million. Therefore, highest annual value there in project B. Therefore, project B should be selected since it has the highest annualized value. Therefore, project B should be selected. That is investment appraisal with unequal life cycles. Okay, I have covered the basic concept when evaluating project: tax application of taxation, application of inflation rate, and with the project which has unequal lives, and sensitivity analysis, those concepts I have covered through the investment appraisal with unequal life cycles. Therefore, this will help to get an understanding what are the relevant cash flow of project appraisal. As an example, initial preliminary research and development cost will not be it will not be relevant for project appraisal because it has already been incurred. It is a sunk cost. Okay, there might be some already committed cost there will be there. As a whole rent already there might be, assume you are running a class, the whole rent already you have paid, whether you have occupied or not you have to pay. Since you are occupying, there is no incremental change, therefore those kind of costs you have to eliminate, you should not consider. In the project appraisal, mainly they will ask to calculate net present value, IRR, what are the advantages of NPV, what are the drawbacks of IRR. And when we are evaluating government project, what is the meaning of economic NPV and economic IRR? I think in the pilot paper discussion we have discussed about economic net present value and economic IRR. When project which have a uneven cash flows, unequal, there might be multiple IRRs, okay, there might be negative cash flows and positive cash flow. Under that situation we have to use modified IRR, modified internal rate of return, while calculating terminal value of each cash flows, and I have given the formula how to work out it. Therefore, those can be used in project appraisal. It is very straight line. You have to answer based on the given scenario, and there are some adjustment like taxation will be there. There's adjustment for working capital as we discussed in pilot paper. Working capital, it will be an outflow, but it will be recovered at the end of the project life cycle. Then initial investment, there will be a residual value. If there is a capital allowances, if you claim full capital allowances, the residual value will be taxed at full amount will be taxed. Okay. Thereafter, always consider incremental cost, incremental revenues, and opportunity cost also you have to consider. If you start this project, if there is an opportunity cost, that should be considered when evaluating project. Both qualitative and quantitative aspect of project evaluation to be done. Okay, that is the end of project appraisal session. I have done the basic parts. I have covered some theory areas, some adjustment need to be done when evaluating project, and what are the adjustment to be done in your cash flows, and how to determine NPV and IRR. I just explained what are the areas you need to cover. IRR computation, that is IRR is the rate which NPV equal to 0. That means assume your NPV at 10%, at discount rate 10%, assume your NPV is positive. You have to select a higher rate which NPV is negative. Remember, in between your IRR will be there. As an example, here itself I will explain. When you are going to calculate IRR, assume at 10% your NPV is 100 million. When it comes to 20%, your NPV is minus 20 million. Definitely, in your IRR rate should be greater than 10%, okay, greater than 10%, but lower than 20%. Okay, in between your IRR will be there. Under this situation, if you are going to calculate IRR, how to calculate it? IRR equal A plus NPV at lower rate divide by NPV at lower rate minus NPV at highest rate minus lowest rate. This should be multiplied. Then you can calculate IRR. Your lower rate here 10% plus NPV at lower rate is 100 million divide 100 million minus 20 million 120 into 20% minus 10%, that is 10%. Okay, you can take net difference 20% minus 10%. Answer 10% plus 100 divided by 120 into 10%, 8.33%. Then it will be 18.33%. This is the rate which your NPV equal to 0. That means your NPV will, NPV equal to 0, your IRR rate will be there 18.33%. At this rate, your NPV will be 0. This is a simple explanation about IRR. IRR mean the rate which your NPV equal to 0. If you borrow more than 18.33, your NPV will be negative. Therefore, you have to borrow less than 18.33. That is the concept of internal rate of return or IRR. Okay, those are the summary points I need to highlight when we are going to calculate NP or when we are going to evaluate project appraisal. In the project appraisal session, it will cover, normally it will cover 20 marks question. Therefore, we have to focus on doing past papers is essential. You have to practice more and more questions. Remember, each of the, assume there are some adjustment given. If it is not relevant, you have to mention it is not relevant, what is the reason. As an example, initial market research cost is 10 million. The market research says that it is suitable to accept this project. The cost incurred on market research is not relevant. You have to mention this is not relevant. The reason is this is sunk cost. Likewise, you have to identify those information properly and answer and properly structure your answer. That is the end of project appraisal session, and I think you have got an idea about project appraisal, how to do the project appraisal based on the given context. Okay, thank you.